and wrapping it up against strong winds from the north.
I think things should be kept very simple. And the simplest thing is to say, okay, there's the rain, there's the sun, how do we make use of it? How do we store all this energy and all this water for later usage? It results in having a house be heated by the atmosphere, and it means that you reduce or you remove about 90% of an average heating and cooling load.
In the interior, Martin Liefhebber has utilized the mass of the materials to great natural effect.
This room really shows all the main ingredients on how to harvest warmth from the sun. The heat that does come through the windows lands on the window sills, which are concrete, on the black counters, granite counters, fantastic for heat absorption. The floor is the same way, it's concrete, so sun comes onto it and it heats up. All this stone, any surface that can see the sunlight can fulfill that function. The major part is that the house has to be oriented toward the sun. It just says, okay, we're here, there's the sun, let's make use of it. Having mass under glass actually provides the heating system. It's the primary heating system.
On a very cold day, a super efficient wood-burning stove can supplement the sun's warmth. And then there's the added benefit of a little stone oven. Keeping houses warm is only part of the equation. During the summer months, cooling things down can be even more of a challenge. So there's no need for air conditioning at all?
No need for air conditioning. Essentially, when you look at this, it's a combination of high-tech, the latest and the best with solar panels, but the basis of it is very old technology. You know, passive solar heating is as old as the beginning of time. It's the combination that makes it all work.
Can we make do with less without sacrificing our quality of life? At their best, city centers have made it possible to live small but well. Established downtown locations use all the space available. Land is often expensive, so a renovation or a new modern house becomes worthwhile, no matter how tiny the property. But living small can also mean living affordably. For architectural intern Andy Thompson, the solution was a mini home.
There's an idea that if we were all to live the way we do here in the West, we'd need an additional 10 planets. So instead of saying, well, that's absurd, we can't have 10 more planets to draw resources from, why don't we reduce our consumption, our impact to 1/10? So what we've done here is 1/10 the gas, 1/10 the water, and in fact 1/100th the electrical requirement that a conventional house would have. Many people see it from the outside and have all kinds of preconceptions, oh, this is too small for me to live in, but then when they see the inside, they feel how light, airy, open it is. I have lived here in the mini home throughout the summer for 4 months, and I mean, we loved it. Hi. Hey, Kier. The kids love it. I mean, the whole family had input in the design process, with, you know, my 6-year-old sitting around the kitchen table saying, I'd love to have a loft that I can climb up into. Come on up. Go on up. Let him go. The materials that we're using in the mini home are the greenest we could find. All of the woods that we have, plywood, framing lumber, are all Forest Stewardship Council certified. We selected alternatives to vinyl for pretty much everything. We have a natural rubber floor. The finishes are all plant oil based and beeswax. And we also have no formaldehyde in any of the millwork. The day it came out of the factory, it smelled like a fresh country kitchen, you know. It didn't have the usual being hit with a wall of toxic gas, which most new cars and trailers have.
The mini home is designed to be comfortably warm and well lit all on its own, without the use of any fossil fuels. This is accomplished with a small and very quiet co-generator that's based on a Stirling engine.
So in a typical house, you have a furnace, a hot water heater, and electricity being generated from a plant somewhere. In the mini home, we have one unit that does all of that. It's giving you hot water, space heating, and electricity. This is an engine called a Stirling engine, and it can run on biodiesel. So there's no need for propane or fossil fuel. Basically, it's a personal power plant.
All the gear to keep the mini home running is neatly tucked under the living room floor.
So what we've done here is placed all of the mechanical systems for the mini home in a raised floor cavity. We've got 3 systems, air system, a water system, and an electrical system. From the solar panels and the wind turbine, we have electrical energy coming into the batteries through a charge controller. The solar panels are actually located right here on the canopy, the entrance to the mini home. And we can also tilt it to the most appropriate solar angle for the time of year. We have a wastewater tank, which from the kitchen sink, shower, and bathroom sink will go into a gray water system outside of the unit. And then we also have a composting toilet.
The prefabricated little mini home is light, simple to set up, and totally self-sufficient. Making the best use of valuable space is increasingly important, especially in big cities like Vancouver. There, in the eastern suburbs, one young architect has set out to green his own small patch by cleverly positioning 2 new houses on one lot. Lucio Picciano crammed ecological ingenuity into every corner.
I was able to split the properties into 2, thereby doubling the density that existed on this lot. On a small lot like this, really have to pay close attention to all the details, the footprint of the house as well as the landscaping. We don't have a traditional lawn on this property. Everything apart from the house is either path to the house or planters, gardens, flower beds.
A green roof also puts plants right up on the top of the building. A membrane seals the roof so no moisture gets through. A thin layer of soil keeps the weight to a reasonable limit. And then hardy plants, such as sedum and ornamental grasses, are used because they can withstand windy and drier conditions. The green roof brings multiple benefits.
Basically, we retain rainwater and we add the insulation value to the roof.
The house was designed to take advantage of the prevailing breezes. A tall, thin stair tower acts like a funnel to move air throughout the house. It's all quite simple, and no additional energy is required.
By building smaller, we can actually put more of that money into the quality and the details of the house, at the same time reducing our footprint on the planet.
But our urban centers are full of big buildings. Can there ever really be a green skyscraper? Vancouver's False Creek waterfront is being revitalized with new apartment complexes and public gardens. Architect Peter Busby relishes the challenge of greening the city's high-rises.
All around us we have environmental change happening, and I believe fundamentally that architects have a responsibility to be part of the solution. An apartment building is actually very easy to make green. I mean, when we think about the fundamental aspects of it, what is it? It is a way of living more densely. You can put more people on a smaller parcel of land and have less of an impact on the environment.
Peter Busby's architectural team designed 3 of the False Creek complexes.
It's been deliberately created so that all of the living space and the public spaces within the building, dining and kitchen and so on, face to the sunshine. So the shaping of the building is important for daylighting. All of the kind of cranking of the building in this elevation and the terracing of the building up, it's all designed to ensure that daylight gets to all the habitable spaces in the building. We don't need any lights on in these buildings at all. The problem with the sunshine is in the summertime, it's too hot. So normally we just put air conditioning in and we don't worry about it. But if you're trying to design a green building that doesn't have much air conditioning in it, and this building has almost no air conditioning in it, it won't get used that much because the building shades itself. You can see in the arrangement of the balconies and the overhangs and these shading devices which you can see on the building. They're these metal projecting louver grills. They're specifically designed to to cut off the solar angle in the summertime. There's greenery on the balconies and on the roof of the buildings. There's a very strong effort here to extend nature into all parts of the urban environment. Garden apartments in the sky.
What can we do about the suburbs? The suburbs surrounding the city of Toronto are expanding at a rapid pace. The Toronto and Region Conservation Authority is determined to prove that sustainability is also possible here. So they put out a call to architects to design the ultimate green suburban house. The proposal attracted many submissions, but the model that won first prize was for a healthy modular house that would generate its own heating and cooling and treat its own wastewater. The model for the house may look like a standard suburban home, but it's full of green surprises. For heating and even cooling this ideal house, the choice was for a geothermal system that taps into the constant temperature of the Earth just below the surface. In cold weather, it heats the house. In the summer, it cools it down. Copper pipes filled with refrigerant are buried underground. The refrigerant circulates into and out of the house through the looped pipes. Inside, a compressor unit handles the heat exchange. The house is a comfortable temperature year-round, all thanks to free energy from the ground below. Geothermal energy was the first step for this ultimate suburban home. The next was to give everybody more green space. This doesn't look like a typical suburban backyard, but there's no reason that it couldn't be. Hiking trails and bubbling streams are the natural advantages of an innovative approach to wastewater treatment known as constructed wetlands. The shower can be the perfect place to go green. To start, the water can be warmed with a solar heating unit mounted on the roof. A low-flow shower head reduces water consumption while you're soaking up. Underneath, a special drain pipe wrapped with a heat recovery coil recycles the free heat from the outgoing warm water and uses it to preheat the incoming cold water. The wastewater is then released to the biofiltration system under the garden for a final cleansing among the reeds and bulrushes of the backyard pond. The green components made perfect sense. The hard part was that the design had to be successful on the ever-expanding streets of suburbia. Greening suburbia demands a rethink of the planning and layout of new developments. The ideal design, proposed by architects Ann Stevens and Terrell Wong, would use land efficiently and introduce some much-needed variety into the structure and size of the homes.
One of the challenges of designing in suburbia is that the diversity of spaces that are here. Most suburban developments try and fit as many houses as they can onto and spread them evenly over the entire property so that everyone feels like they get their piece of land.
Natural landscapes are vital to a community, and because the model home can be adapted to a semi-detached or townhouse format, more space is made available for gardens and greenery.
I think we have to re-engineer our thought process so that we can get the things that we need out of life, but we're using less materials, we're using less toxic materials.
Two of these ideal homes will be constructed as demonstration projects to show that it's perfectly possible, beginning now, to build green. But what do we do with all the buildings we already have? We can't just start over. Established communities have special challenges when it comes to building sustainably.